Welcome to Forever Exiled. I'm Justin A.K. Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Episode 244 of Forever Exiled. This is a fun one. It's going to be a good one.
This one's a part one. Next week is going to be great as well. It's funny. I went to go put my phone on D&D and I realized it's still on like the vibrate and no notification function from when we were at the event.
Oh, nice. Just left it like that.
Sorry if I missed anybody's messages.
Big shout out to our patrons. Thanks everybody who resubbed up this week. Patreon gets you access to our After Dark. It's a podcast after the podcast where we just keep talking, which is what we're going to do again. So this is going to be a weird episode. I think we're going to kind of jump into things because how was your week? Okay, we had weeks, but we went to the PoE event in Las Vegas or Los Angeles. So that's what we're going to hop into.
Vegas.
Look at brother Rob. But so for all the people who listen for just to hear how our weeks was, you're gonna have to listen to the whole episode if you want to know.
Yeah,
it was an all entwined week, but we do have a little bit of this week in PoE, sort of.
Yeah, but it was funny because it was we were.
We don't often do video. I want to shout out. We are going to have video on the YouTube's version of this video playing in the background. So if you are watching on YouTube, you're probably seeing some footage. We'll get into some details later as to why we are not using our own footage because there were some errors that happened, but we'll get into that. But a big shout out to Talkative Tri for providing us with some footage of him and his wife playing Monk and Ranger. So that's what will be playing in the background. So a big shout out again. Thank you so much, Talkative Tri, for hooking us up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and try if you ever hear this. One of my what do you call them? I guess moniker. Is that what Wrecker of Days is? My moniker, nickname. My nickname. It used to be Tri Night Party.
Tag. It did used to be Tri Night Party.
It used to be Tri Night Party. So kind of bros in that department. We're kind of tri bros.
It's true.
But the reason for that is not appropriate. So that'll be a conversation for another day or another
private conversation.
Yes, it is in a van down by the river. But it was funny because while we were in Los Angeles, so Justin and I, for those that don't know, Justin and I were lucky to be invited to Path of Exile 2 playtest that GGG was doing, and they were doing it in Los Angeles. And so we were invited to go to Los Angeles, and we were able to make the time in real life. So we were happy to go. Our wives were also probably very happy that we were able to go get us out of the house for a few days. And so it was neat. It was one day, about an 8-hour playtest session. They had some stuff to announce, and then there was some stuff that they'd fixed from the previous play session. Justin and I weren't there, but there were many that were invited to this playtest that were from the previous one and were able to compare the difference between their own notes and criticisms and so on and so forth. And that's what it was for. We were there to experience the game and just give brutally honest feedback.
It was a focus on console, though. Console and controller was the focus.
They had some really cool announcement stuff that they did the previous week. So anyway, that was on one day, and you show up the day before and you're figuring stuff out, how travel works. And so while we're there and we're just hanging out with some other people that were invited, GGG comes out with an announcement. And the only announcement they made, and GGG, keep it up. I hate fluff announcements. Just if there's something we need to know, make those your only announcements. I love how you're doing things lately. It was funny because the announcement they came out with was 1, 2, 3, surprise.
An unnecessary announcement, really.
320. Well, for the fans, yes, but maybe GGG's announcing this to themselves, but 324 is going to be a 4-month league.
What?
I know. Who knew? No. So, if this is your first episode, that's something that Justin and I have been joking around about. They keep thinking or saying that it's going to be, we're going back to the 3-month schedule, or it's we're going to continue with a 3-month schedule, and it hasn't been a 3-month schedule in forever.
Your leagues have been stellar since you started doing the 4-month league. Even though Necropolis was not my jam, the game is great. So yes. I say keep it up. Do the 4-month leagues.
Releasing legit quality every time you have a 4-month league prior. It's fantastic and phenomenal. So anyway, the people we were hanging out with, we were all kind of joking around the same thing, like, hey, who's not surprised? Who is surprised? You know what I mean? And so it was quite funny to get that announcement while we were there, and we could kind of joke around with some other people about it. But still, nice. I mean, sure, this league might not have the retention that other leagues did. Maybe it's because of the league design. Maybe it was because people were burned out from the previous one where they were just getting epic loot and playing for forever and ever and ever. But it kind of ties us into PoE too, because if 325, the next league, ends up being a 4-month league, that puts you right to the end of 2024. And the announcement that GGG had last week was that the beta is going to start at the end of 2024, well, November, December, whatever. They have no month yet, but that's the idea. So a 4-month league from when 325 is supposed to start all the way to then, that puts you at the end and kind of right on schedule with beta being releasing if they were to maintain that.
I don't know that they want to have a league release at the same time as beta, but I guess we'll see what they decide to do.
I agree. I think it would probably be better for them to have the beta start a month and a half into whatever league it is, like 326 or something like that, because then you're not missing all that income. Granted, I think you're doubling up your income. I don't think you're splitting your income. I think if you have them start at the same time, you're going to get people that are going to buy, instead of buying a support pack, they're going to buy the beta access. But if you have it that month and a half after, you probably have the people that maybe buy a supporter pack every league also buying beta access.
You make more money and you get more players. So to me, it makes sense to not have them start at the same time, but who knows what GGG will do quite often. Yeah, you didn't put the wall up. It's okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's fine. Your audio is beautiful, Ty. It's just your voice. My voice is a little iffy, so if I sound a little rough, I literally snapped my fingers on the first day we were in LA in the evening, and all of a sudden my voice just was done.
It was crazy.
I don't know if it was the dust or the air, or I honestly don't know what it is.
It's smog central, but
yeah,
that's the only you weren't sick. There was nothing wrong with you. You were not sniffly, and then all of a sudden, Justin.
Instantly.
Yeah, he legit just lost his voice out of nowhere. He ended up getting it back the day of the conference, which was the next day. But pretty crazy.
It was also funny enough, talking.
Though. Now, I want to shout out Nadir. Can I do that, Just?
Yeah.
Nadir, so our Uber ride from the airport, from LAX to the hotel that we were staying at, where the conference room was, what was it? I don't know, like 45-minute Uber ride. And Nadir, you rock. And anyway, we were chatting it up with Nadir. He's telling us all about LA, and it was no joke, but he's like, guaranteed 1 p.m. No joke, man, no joke. You just watch. I'm telling you, 1 p.m. every day. The sun is shining in LA. Every day, 1 p.m. shining in LA. Beforehand, all smoke, all smog. No way, no chance. Keep your windows up, but guarantee you, 1 p.m. I'm telling you. Just kind of like how he was talking. I can't do a good LA chat lingo thing, but anyway, he was like, I'm telling you, 1 p.m. everybody breaks it out, the sun starts shining, and everybody know it. And no joke. You would look out your hotel window and you would see smog way in the distance, but guaranteed in the afternoon it was always shining wherever you were walking. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So our trip, we may as well just run everybody through how the process of our week went, because it was a pretty fun thing. I have a notepad. We have to be a little bit careful about how we talk. There was an embargo given to us on some of the content, so we can't speak about some specific stuff. Just to prep yourself, though, that embargo ends on Tuesday, so expect your YouTube feed to just explode with content creators all just dumping
on Tuesday. That's right.
On Tuesday. So,
and then we'll talk
Tuesday,
about that.
We're going to talk about it next week.
Episode.
And we'll have some new footage and some other stuff, but we have to keep some of that stuff under wraps so we don't get ourselves into trouble. We want to stay in the good graces of GGG. So we were flying out Wednesday, so Ty and I went out Thursday. Him and I hooked up in the evening. Tuesday, sorry, I'm all over the place. We hooked up Tuesday, went out and stayed in Richmond near the Vancouver airport, hung out at a casino, gambled it up all night. We didn't go into the casino, but we did stay overnight there before we flew out really early in the morning. So it was awesome, though. There was nobody at the airport. It was so quiet.
Justin, he's mentioned this on a previous podcast, but anybody in the Richmond area in BC, Justin took me to the Flying Beaver.
So good.
That's the best. But I'm an allergy guy. Like I don't know how often I say or don't say that on our show, but I'm an allergy guy. I'm allergic to wheat. I'm allergic to cow dairy. I have to be careful about my glycemic index intake.
Gluten. The list goes on.
Pork and there's just lots. So I'm the dreaded customer at any. This place was fantastic. I could have gluten-free calamari. Everything was like the sugar intake was so low. It was
a lot of food. It was pretty funny because he ordered himself a burger, a chicken burger, And then I ordered an appy. I was ordering two appies.
It was a salmon burger, but
sorry, salmon burger. I was ordering two appies, and the server says, "Hey, why don't I just wait six minutes to put that through?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "I'm just gonna wait 6 minutes. If I put it through in 6 minutes, the main kitchen closes, and then it's 2 for 1 appies." And I was like, "All right, cool. I appreciate it." So he walks away.
2 for 1 appies.
And Tyler's like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah, the server. So I order first because I got the allergy stuff, and Justin's always like, "Yeah, Ty, you go first. Get it out of the way, and then I'll top it off with an easy order." So I always order first when Justin and I go out, and then he gets the 2 for 1 appy thing explained to him. But then the server walks away, and I'm like, but maybe I want 2 for 1 appies, but I already ordered some of my salmon burger. So the salmon burger comes. I didn't have the guts to change my order, and it was only 6 minutes till the kitchen closed. So I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go for it. But your appies were good, and they were big.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, man, like I'm almost full, but I eat a lot, and almost full just doesn't work well, especially with our morning. Like we weren't going to eat until like we were getting served on the plane. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know if I could eat on the plane based on what they served. So I'm like, yeah. So then I ordered 2 for 1 appies, and I had some calamari.
Oh, he went to town.
And I haven't had calamari in over a decade because trying to find some nice gluten-free calamari.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh, and then the steak bites were not small. They were, Justin, it was the best.
And their drinks, like their old fashions, if I had drank, of course I'm not supposed to.
They would have been really good. Have been
so good. But yeah, the Flying Beaver, if you're ever in the Richmond area in BC, it is phenomenal. It's tiny, tiny little place. So we went there. We went and one of us slept, and then we flew out the next morning. So we were at the airport very early. But it was good, actually. It loaded on quick. We got onto the airplane. Yeah. The airplane, great. I was worried about our seats, so we had upgraded to the premier seats to make sure that I had a little bit more space. So it was, too wide and a lot nicer seats. And Tyler's
talking for his back, for his old man back,
for my back, just because I was nervous about flying with the back. So it was an experience for Tyler. He had the window seat, which was fun for me. I was pointed out.
I haven't flown in the daytime in forever. Yeah. So for me to experience
rivers,
like the
mountains.
Width of mountains. Well, yeah, but the width of mountains and how small absolutely massive cliffs are and ravines.
And two mountains look the same and they're different.
But they were. You had Mount Rainier, and what's the other one behind Mount Rainier in Washington that's on the way? Like you see these two massive snow-capped. I mean, we're used to seeing Mount Baker, but you see these two massive mountains, but in consecutive order kind of thing. It just, I don't know. It was wicked.
It was pretty funny.
Up. But and then I'm bugging Justin like a kid.
The drinks are free. So, but I was getting the taps on the shoulder as I was listening. I had my earbuds in, and I just every now and then getting a tap.
Hey, look, and you were the most patient parent in the world to me. You were like, it was fun. Yes, Tyler. Oh yeah, no, that is really neat, isn't it? And as soon as he could tell that I was finished or started zoning back out into the window, you could just tell he was politely putting his earbud back into his ear. Yeah, but it was fun. But I'd never been in first class or premium seating before, whatever they call it on your frequent airline. And of course, we did it so that Justin could be sure that he could stretch his back out as much as he could, and that he wasn't going to be a deadbeat when he got to the hotel. And so, it was more for like just to be functionality at the actual experience that we were invited to. It sucked to be invited to this. GGG goes to these expenses, and then of course Justin can't even function. So it was with that mentality that we went for and splurged the extra little bit. But I'm not used to, like, it's so funny when you go in that experience, like you spend that extra money for the first class experience, and then everything quote unquote is free, but you spend all this money to get there. But it's funny how it actually does feel free.
Totally feels
you know
good.
What I mean? You feel right, like you spend all that money at a time, but then it's free.
You forget about the money that was spent, and you're like, I got this tiny bottle. All right.
Well, the thing is they didn't have anything that I could eat.
No, you couldn't eat anything. That's true.
And all I could keep seeing was that their list of liquor had no prices next to them because, of course, it was the first class or premium menu, whatever it was. And I'm just not used to that experience. So when did our flight take off? 8?
We took off at 8. So it was about 20 after, 30 after, 8:30-ish.
Around 20 after 8:30, I order myself a coffee because I don't have the guts to order alcohol at 8 in the morning.
For about 7 minutes.
So I get my coffee. Right. And then as soon as he comes around, would you like a refill of coffee? I'm like, Well, actually, I saw that you have some Glenfiddich down there. Let's just start on with one of those.
Yeah.
Well, how do you like it, sir? I'm like, it's not
So
too early.
funny.
You're not actually secretly thinking I'm a total douche,
didn't
are you? He's
care
like,
at all.
oh, no, sir. You are fantastic. You
Yeah.
order whatever you like. Welcome to the WestJet experience. And I'm like, well, I'll take myself some Glenfiddich. And he's like, sir, unfortunately, it seems like we've been short at some Glenfiddich, but if you would like some CC, which is Canadian Club for you non-Canadian folk, if you'd like some CC, I'd be happy to help you out. And I'm like, I'll take one of those. Anyway, 3 later,
I was having
it's
a
like
blast.
9 o'clock.
The best was at
it
one
was
point.
such a good one.
I had to do I had paid for the wireless because I had to get some work done. And then after I finished that, I was just chilling, listening to some music. So my eyes were closed. I can't sleep on planes, but I was at least relaxing. And I remember at one point, I never knew when he was at our chairs to like help out or talk or whatever. But I just remember at one point opening my eyes and looking over, and Tyler's just surrounded by like snacks. I don't even know what they were. It was like,
Right.
What were they? I don't actually know.
They're like little like healthy bars, like
nut
good
things?
food
Okay.
to go or whatever
Sure.
the brand is called, good
Yeah, yeah.
food or something like that. Anyway, it was stuff that I could have. Every single ingredient on there. I wasn't risking anything. It was all delicious. And I'm like, man, like, listen, I can't have
Oh, he
the
was
meals
happy
you're
to give
serving.
to
Do
you.
you mind if I have a couple more of those? Anyway, like 5 or 6 bars
So
later, I've
funny.
got garbage all over me. I have empties all
that's
around.
awesome.
And oh man,
No.
all I needed was a bigger belly and some sports on and my hand down my crotch, and it would have been perfect.
Yeah, it was good. The flight was good though. We got into LA and then we met Nadir, went off to the airport or to the hotel. We stayed at the Westin, which was actually super nice hotel, beautiful hotel.
Now, we've been told that we have a Canadian accent. And
Well-
that's garbage because obviously we don't have an accent, right? Everyone else has an accent.
That's right.
We speak normal English. Everyone else
You all
has
have an accent.
But apparently, Nadir, when Justin and I were talking, we were being friendly with Nadir, and Nadir's super friendly. So, you know, we start chatting before we're even out of the LAX parking lot. Nadir's driving us to the
Westin.
hotel.
Mhm.
And right off the bat, he asks where we're from. And he said that only one of us has an accent.
And he's like, it's very
Only
apparent.
one.
He was pretty like emphatic
Yeah.
that it was like very
It's
obvious.
strong.
I thought it
And
was
both
me.
Justin and I. Yeah, we're both terrified. None of us want an accent, unless, of course, we're from England. How do you do?
Yeah.
Cheerio. And because that's exactly how they talk, of course. And so we're both like, no, I don't have an accent. You have an accent. And it ended up being me.
It was Tyler.
And it was my OUs. It was my about. It was my
Mhm.
house. It was whatever out.
Mhm.
I don't know.
It was so
Anyway.
funny. Tyler was
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. Justin's got the true West Coast speech, and apparently I'm still from Ontario, even though I left when I was like 9 or 10.
It was really funny. But yeah, we went to the Westin, beautiful hotel. Thank you, GG. It was a really, really nice experience at that hotel. We met up with Soja and got to hang out with him for a bit. We did meet some other people. I just don't remember everybody with regards to the streamers that were there and different content creators. We got to know more of them a little bit later on, but hung out with him for a bit, hung out at the hotel. And then that evening, I do remember a few. We hung out with Baylor, Ducks. I can't there. Denny. I think we met somebody named Denny.
Denny Pond.
She was really
and
nice.
Catmaster, yeah.
Catmaster wasn't there till later, but Baylor was handing out pins. So we got a pin from Baylor.
Thanks, Baylor.
Thank you, Baylor. And then we went out and hung out with some people from our community, which was a lot of fun. So big shout out to Scorn and to Brock. And then Soja came with us and we went to the Yard House.
Yeah, I can never. It's Yard
Yeah, you keep
House,
saying
Roadhouse. No,
Roadhouse.
it's Yard. It was Yard House, right by the. I call it Staples Center, but it's not the Staples Center anymore.
No, they call it Arena Center or something.
Yeah, the Crypto Arena now, where
Crypto
the Kings
Arena,
play.
that's right. Yeah, so we went to Yard House there, which was a lot of fun. Hung out with them for the evening. So yeah, big thanks to you guys. That was super fun to meet up with you guys and hang out for the evening with you.
It was awesome getting to know you guys and seeing people in person and just chatting. We were there for almost 3 hours. It was so fun.
It was a lot of
Really,
fun.
really fun experience.
We went back to the hotel and I was done. I crashed. Tyler partied all night, but I couldn't do it. I was just I think it was around that. Yeah, it was around that time before that my voice had gone, like just a little bit before we went to meet up for dinner. And I got back and I was like, I got to crash. So I went to bed and had a great sleep, but Tyler partied all night. I don't even know what he did.
Well, but it was really cool. I actually want to shout them out. Like we met a lot of people within the community that are, it's their careers to do this kind of thing. And of course, everybody knows the Twitch situation. Some people just have really made it other people, like, it's like check by check, but everybody that's doing it loves Path of Exile and they're doing it. And so it's all really fun, but we know what Twitch is like. And I just want to, and so I'm not going to shout everybody out, but I thought it was really cool because that evening, right, GG was very generous with what they were providing us, and I couldn't thank them enough. It was such a generous experience that they gave us. So anyway, I'm at the bar ordering a drink, and Gazzy comes up and introduces himself and invites some of us that were chatting around the bar while we were waiting for our drinks to come on over and hang out with everyone. He was being very inclusive, but I thought that was really cool because, I mean, everybody had that attitude and everybody was being really kind, but I just thought it was really neat because Gazzy's one of those names that, I mean, nobody knows anybody else's financial situation, but you get the impression that, Gazzy's kind of made it. Like it's a comfortable career, I guess you could say. That's the impression that I get anyway. And so from, people, once you're there, or once you have money, you can unintentionally come across as arrogant or whatever the situation is, but he was really humble, very inclusive. No matter what stage of broadcasting career someone was at, he came over and introduced everybody. So I just wanted to give a big thank you to that because that's really cool. Sometimes people can get nervous around those that, they've kind of made it. They're, where everybody else is trying to be with whatever career it is. So I just thought that was really sweet. And it really made the evening very smooth for everyone else that was involved. Not sure what anybody else was feeling, but I was very impressed with that. And so it was neat. And then all of a sudden I'm going to bed and it's like 2 a.m.
Yeah, Ty was a party animal. So it was good though. I'm glad you went out and did that. I couldn't keep up. I felt like an old man. I just felt off. It was just, I had a bad experience as we were leading up towards flying and stuff. So, but it was fun. It was a fun first day. And then we woke up in the morning to go straight to the event. I think one of my favorite things, though, before we actually get into the event itself, the event started at 10. It went from 10 to 6. But I'm thinking, like, that's so cool. Like, nobody has to wake up early. You could go out. And again, the only reason I was drinking was because of the very generous vouchers that we got. And so, I mean, yeah, sure, why not? It's, like a vacation for me, right? Plus, we had to hook Antoine up.
Oh, Antoine, exactly. Antoine, you made that weekend so stress-free for so many people.
Antoine
Congratulations,
is the rep who, I think we've talked about him already, but he's the rep that was working with the company with GGG to make sure everything worked for everybody. And he was spectacular. Superstar. Worked his butt off. And I mean, so many other people did too, but he was our contact and we definitely were able to recognize he was awesome.
His abilities. But so you get in like your drink vouchers for the bar. But the event doesn't start till 10. And I mean, that's such a great combo. It's not like you're giving somebody drink vouchers and it's like, oh, okay, you got to get up at 7 a.m. Mm-hmm. Right, here's your drink vouchers. Have as much as you want because you don't have to be anywhere till 10 a.m. But hopefully you shower because you're going to be smushed next to a whole bunch of other people. But yeah, 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it was fun. So we went and got in line. We were right near the front because we're keeners. And and yeah, we started meeting people in line, getting introduced to different people. It was really funny because we don't do visual stuff. So everybody there does visual stuff. Everybody's a streamer or a YouTuber and they all have their faces typically shown. So it was quite often where we were like, oh, I'm Justin or I'm Tyler. I felt it weird to introduce myself as tags. I know a lot of them do, but it was always funny to be like, oh yeah, I post the podcast foreverexiled, and then oh yeah, I know who you guys are. So we're not the facial side of it was really easy to be missed, which was fine for me, but it was really funny. I found it very odd how many, like, oh yeah, okay, I know the podcast, that's awesome. But so we met a lot of people online, did our sweet picture. We decided to recreate our pose, which we posted on Discord and Twitter actually, of us recreating our pose with GGG. So they took their little professional photo of us. And then we went in, we sat and we waited for a little bit. And then Jonathan did his intro, which was fun. He did his, I don't remember. It was awesome. I mean, yeah, it was just sort of the intro to what we were going to be doing and what we were going to be playing and some of the information that we had to be aware that we need to hold on to Tuesday. And then they basically were just like, have at her. There's 60 TVs, 60 couches. If you want to play co-op, play co-op. If you want to play by yourself, play by yourself. But have at her, it's yours. Here's your 256 gig memory card, and you can save all your data for you to use for gameplay footage and have fun. We're going to be around if you have questions.
We were allowed to record every single aspect of the game, and it's all public post Tuesday.
Some of it's even before then, even afterwards, there was some skill tree stuff that they were like, hey, if you could avoid showing this, because they're still finishing it. So, we did get to see the skill tree though, which was amazing. But there are parts of the skill tree that we have to keep out just because they weren't finished it yet.
I guess we're allowed to talk about that.
Sorry,
we got to be really careful about. I just don't want to.
I'm on it, so you don't have to. I will cut you off real quick if we get into areas we're not allowed.
I was asking Justin on the way home because we just came back today. We've been home for maybe 3 hours. So thank you, Christina and Aaron, our wives, for
let us get this done.
Yeah. Lead is definitely the right word. I was going to say, no, maybe let's not the right. Yeah, let's definitely the right word.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for letting us record the same day that we get back. But we were joking on the way back that I'm just going to talk. Just like I was telling Justin, okay, Justin, I'm just going to talk. Yeah. I'm going to talk about everything and anything. And you're just going to add beeps to everything. And it's going to be like a 45-minute beep, 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 beep because of all the stuff. And then we'll just show next week's episode. We don't have to record because then it's just the unbeeped version of what we recorded this week. That's not going to happen though. But it was a really cool experience because everybody, last week in the last episode, Justin and I just we were blown away by the announcement of couch co-op. It was like a console Sony specific announcement, but it included so much more than console because it was talking about couch co-op. It was talking about cross progression. It was talking about cross play. It was talking about so many amazing different aspects of the game that definitely do impact PC and controller support on PC. But then even the intuitiveness of how it works. You saw Trevor at the end of that video saying like, I'm hoping to convert everybody to be a console or a controller player for Path of Exile 2. And to emphasize the couch co-op aspect that Jonathan was so excited about in that video, when we sit down, like, again, we're talking like 60, I don't know, what are they, 36, 42 inch TVs? No, they were
definitely I would say they were closer to 50 inch TVs, if not bigger. They were big.
Yeah. And there's like 60 of them in this room, all perfectly, nicely organized and laid out. GGG, if for anybody that's been to ExileCon, they do a good job with their presentation in person too, right? Like some of the sweet statues they came out with with some new ones there. It was really neat. Like there was one that had skeletons being impaled from spikes on the ground. That was cool. I had to get a picture of that one. But so anyway, we go, but you know what we're sitting on when we're playing? A love seat, a couch. There was no chairs. It was all just couches, just to emphasize the couch co-op. Even if you were decided to play on your own, you had a choice. You could pair up with anybody you wanted, or you could play on your own, and they had enough systems for all of it. And it was just go. Like, it was such a casual experience. After we were kind of given the instructions and we were given the introduction and all that kind of stuff, it was just go. And so we had from, I don't know, I guess you could say 10:30, 10:45, all the way until roughly 5 p.m. to play as much or as little as we wanted. We could get up anytime. We could eat anytime.
Lunch,
coffee anytime.
There was drinks.
It was so good.
It was very chill. It was such a, and then the devs were just walking around. So if you had questions, you just start chatting with them, or they'd be helping you out figure stuff out. So Ty and I hopped right in. We got into the very front row and we were just like, all right, let's get it done. So we played.
Hook it up.
Yep. We got our controllers, our PlayStation controllers. I had to get my headset replaced because there was no padding on it, but they were awesome. They got that swapped out real fast. And then we spent a lot of time just like, once we got into our characters, just like looking at the menus, the option. We didn't have a ton of options game option wise, but like swapping out skills, how was that going to work? And I mean, Tyler and I didn't even finish all of the discovering on swapping skills out until today. Like we were
right, like it was in dialogue with other people. We're like, what do you mean you could do that? It was really cool. I mean, some of that's a little bit of just missing a tiny bit of information on the UI, and there were lots of glitches, but it was an extremely smooth experience. Like there was definitely stuff that I don't know, like it's obviously pre-beta, right? But it's as polished as it could be. Yes, so of course there's going to be some oversights, and those are super easy fixes. So sometimes some of our gameplay was trying to figure something out, and then you call over one of the devs and like, oh yeah, sorry, no, that's just not something that we were able to put into this build, but that's definitely something that's going to happen. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. So you don't even need to throw feedback in because they're doing that, but you wasted kind of 15 minutes trying to figure out something that wasn't actually included in the build. But the overall experience, it was an incredibly polished game. It was so, I mean, the gameplay itself was not bug free, but it was just as solid or more solid than a current League launch that they do.
Oh yeah.
Like that gameplay was smooth and it was fun. But the features that they're adding, there's so much stuff that they've added to the game that they're not talking about. Things that like the normal everyday stuff, like normal listeners or regular listeners to us will know that I've been hesitant to be excited about Path of Exile 2 because my attitude has always been, okay, like all these cool new features about like new character rigs and new skills and new linking systems, like that's all really exciting. But at some point that's going to be the normal experience and it's no longer going to be the new flavor of the month. That's just the regular expectation of basic gameplay. So the things that I get nervous about or was hesitant about beforehand were the everyday things that make things tedious and frustrating. And so little things like walking past a waypoint automatically unlocks it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you don't even have to walk over it. You don't even have to click it. It has a huge invisible radius. And just as you get close, the waypoint's unlocked. Right.
And
it's crazy.
Checkpoints too do the same thing.
Right. They've added checkpoints, of course. Most of us have probably even forgotten about that. But because of the different rules now that they have about bosses respawning with full health bars or not, and how like the portal, right? There's no more portal scrolls. Now it's you just have this skill that has it's not a cooldown. It's cast
time. Mm-hmm.
Cast time. And so just they have checkpoints now, and every time you see a checkpoint, you're like, oh, it's either something quest related or it's going to be a boss.
But also with those two, both those two things, it automatically heals you and refills your flasks, which is awesome too, because it preps you for like what's about to come.
That's right. And it's also kind of a good reminder for returning players such as Justin and I and most everybody listening, because we don't know the ins and outs like from the wiki yet, of course, because it's not out about like how flasks refill, what they've changed, how your mana and life flasks do replenish via gameplay. But they are currently doing the well thing in town. You go to town, you click on the well, and all your flasks are replenished. Now, for any haters about that, totally get where you're coming from, but it really wasn't a tedious experience. I think Justin and I, outside of gameplay, because we were really low, maybe one boss fight.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we realized
with what I was doing, I was doing a very mana heavy build and I was still barely running out of mana. I only needed to go to the well once. I did click on the well a second time, but I didn't need to. It was just because you were there, and so I just decided to top up. But it really wasn't a tedious experience. The refilling in game was enough. And
well, and that changed because we did talk to Octavian about that in the previous iteration that happened 2 months ago. That was only happening when you killed magic or rares, and they got feedback that didn't feel great. So now it is when you kill anyone, that's how flasks recharge, which was it was really good. The only spot where it gets tough is in a boss fight, and even harder in a boss fight if someone dies, because then you're trying to not only live but also res, because you can revive your friend in couch co-op, which is super fun.
It was really cool. So I would die or Justin would die, and you have an opportunity to revive your co-op buddy. And the neat thing is that, and now maybe this is just for the demo, so it's not infuriating. Maybe this is the way it's going to be, but there was no timer for the revive.
Well, there was a cast time to revive, but it wasn't a timer that you had until that person was just gone.
I wouldn't die permanently if Justin took too long to revive me. Right. But you also just couldn't revive anytime. Anytime you take damage, that revive
stops.
Basically, you have to recast it and do it again. So it was a lot of, I mean, nobody wants to die, but when I would die or Justin would die, and yes, Justin died. I wasn't the only one being revived, but it was really fun it was a neat part of the game. Sure, maybe some of it was just nostalgic because nobody wants to die, but it was kind of fun, like in a boss fight, like, okay, I'm going over to the far side of the screen. Okay, I'm going to wait for the boss to do this animation, or maybe we're going to stun the boss. And you're trying to stun the boss so that you can revive somebody, not so that you can get in some sweet hit, but then you're sacrificing the sweet hit for the revive. So it was a lot of fun.
But when you're dead, you could do inventory management, you could do skill tree changes. Like you had full control of your character outside of moving and doing skills. You could actually do, whatever, those types of changes, which was pretty cool.
It was. And I think another thing that was really fun for us, especially as new players, is we're going in, well, even as returning players, I guess, because I was going to start talking about uncut gems, but we spent a lot of time in the menu because the tooltip is really
so cool,
informative. You go and it talks about, it has armor, it has evasion, it has deflect, and it has
spell suppression,
energy shield, and spell suppression, all 5 defensive layers. And yes, deflect is a new one. We'll learn more about that as time comes on, but And then you click on that and it explains what armor is. It even gives you so armor has a similar design currently. Who knows if it's going to be like that in a year, but armor has a similar design of it's more effective against smaller hits than bigger hits. But it says that, and it explains in simple words the basics of how the math works. And then you get it's all there. And then
stun threshold for me was awesome to be able to just look at it. How does it work? What is this for me? Is this for the enemy? The tooltip part was just it was awesome. Very, very simple to use.
And it was accessible as kind of like, how sometimes I remember when I used to work in the hotel industry and things were slow on a check and it was a slow day. And so I'd start getting into the Marvel superhero bit, and I'd be reading about Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel's history. And then I'm like, oh, wow, she slept with this person or that person's her kid. So then I click on that one and I start going down a Wikipedia hole. You know what I mean? And I'm like, all of a sudden I'm 20 pages in the Marvel universe and I don't even remember where I started or why I was there. It's kind of like that. You click on stun in the game and then that takes you to another page and then it has other tags there. And it's like, oh, now it's clicking on this and now it's clicking on this and it's clicking on, and it just takes you all the way through it. And it was really nice to have that information there. There still isn't any information on the status icons, like if you're getting chilled
with the debuffs and buffs.
Yeah, there were some times where I was getting slowed by enemies and I had no idea what it was. Obviously, that can be added, however it is that they choose to add it. But it was so refreshing to have that. And they really, really care about the first player experience. There were people there that are not Path of Exile players at all. Yeah. And they were there for the first player experience feedback. And it was really cool to talk to them after the fact and learn about the game. They didn't even know how Path of Exile made money. They didn't even know that Path of Exile was free to play, right? That's how noob per se they are in Path of Exile land. So really, really neat. So many little quality of life features, how the aiming works. The auto aim was a first experience for Justin because he's new to controller support. And it was really good. You said you were really impressed.
Yeah, it was. We did a bunch of testing too. The auto aim was really good. Very, very. I was really impressed with how well just the straight up the system knew where to hit, or had a pretty good understanding. I also love being able to change things mid skills. But we did some testing. We wanted to see what happens if you move away from the player. So the way that it works right now is if I start to move away from Tyler, and he's maybe doing his skill tree or he's just not touching his controller, it will drag him with me. So he'll just move along with me. It's not the greatest way to play because you could run into packs without barely being able to see them. So it wasn't great, but it at least allowed you to continue moving.
Yeah, they have us a little too close to the edge of the screen for dragging somebody. You're right at the edge of the screen currently.
Well, and also if Tyler's playing second player and he decides he's in his menu doing his skill tree and I need to run to the right, my character's gone behind his screen. Yeah. So, but at least you can. And you may not be able to fix that. I mean, the idea with couch co-op is you're speaking to the human being that's sitting right beside you, right? So
yeah, shut your menu, man. Right.
Which I yelled at Tyler a number of times because he was taking notes while we were doing boss fights. But
it's important business.
It is important business. You could get stuck though if the other player was not moving and they were on a nook or something within the terrain, and that's not going to change. We did talk to them about it, and I get their understanding of not wanting to teleport a player to the person who's trying to move. But again, that's a couch co-op thing. Again, you're sitting right with that person. You should be able to communicate with that person. We did test.
I was really relieved that they did let us drag. That was, I think that's extremely important because now you're not screwing somebody.
Just stuck.
The same. Well, yeah, if you don't let the player who's waiting to drag another player, then there's no point in having the screen split. Like the video showed, Justin and I can access our passive trees at the exact same time. And that's really cool, but there's no point to that if Justin has to wait for me if he's finished and I'm not. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We may as well just take turns with full screen support and then keep going. So I really enjoy that they are doing that.
We did test what happens if you try to run apart from each other, because we have played some co-op games where it splits the screen. So there's a slice in the screen and you can each see your character in different areas. They don't do that. If we both try to walk in different directions, the screen just stays still, which is fine. Just so, we wanted to test how that would work. There are some things that I don't know if there will be solutions for, but I would love if there was, which is if Tyler or I go to turn in a quest, that takes over the full screen, even if somebody's doing something. If I go into buy or sell something,
current
it takes
dialogue
over the whole,
and selling. Yeah.
it takes up the whole screen. And so if it would be nice if there was some way for that to work, even if the other person was in a screen. There wasn't any necessity for it to take up the full screen, because if I was turning in a quest and getting a quest reward, it was just for me. I wasn't accepting it for Tyler. He would still have to go and do it. So I feel like that could be something that could still be maintained within the half of the screen. But I mean, it was great. There's the mini map works the same way, but I would love to see two, because it's weird when you're playing couch co-op to have the map in the top right corner if you're the left-hand player. It's weird to I don't know why. It's just different to get around getting used to it. But the game, man, the bosses, oh my god, the bosses were so fun, so much fun.
It really was. And the funny thing is like we backtracked quite a lot, because I don't know if we were just so distracted by the novelty or if the questing needs to be improved in some way, but we did do a lot of backtracking, and it was amazing. Like we felt like we were doing a lot of bosses, and which is great. Like that's my favorite part of any game, right? That's the thing I love about the Souls games. But we would go back and we'd be like, oh wow. And then all of a sudden it's like we missed like 4 bosses in this area. We have it's so many crazy things and cool things. And we got some of the rewards where they were about permanent stat bonuses, like getting 10% cold resist permanently, or you're weapon getting skills. Yeah, weapon swapping skills. So 2 points for both skills. And so it was really cool to go back and just that item of discovery. But then the new instance, like these are huge areas. And the new instance would reset and we'd be like, man, how are we going to do it? And we ended up like so many of the bosses that they've shown us. I remember one of our long time ago now, but as they started showing us more Path of Exile content and started showing us more bosses, we were kind of nervous. Like, I want to experience it. Like, I don't want you to show us all the bosses. And I'm like, now that we've played this, I'm like, okay, we've seen a whole bunch of these bosses. We fought against them now. They're all in like the first act, a couple in the second act that we never got to, but we saw our neighbors fighting.
A fifth of the amount of bosses we actually fought. Like the amount of bosses we fought was so much compared to what we've seen.
But we missed so many. So it was really neat in that regard for sure.
I love that you can do ailments. Like the way that ailments work now on bosses is it feels good. Like watching stun go up, watching freeze go up, seeing poison. Like it's just, I don't know why. It looked, the design of the bosses was fun. It was really fun because we died a lot. And we'd have to be like, okay, we actually need to be paying attention to this, or this has to happen. And it felt more like a bit of a strategy ARPG where we couldn't just go in. I was talking with I don't remember who it was that I was speaking with there, but I love that you were not going to go into these boss battles and just smash them in a hit and be done. You weren't. There's just not because there was immunity phases, just because the bosses are hard. Right. They seem to ramp up very, very well with the difficulty.
And speaking of immunity phases, they've definitely taken a page out of the Souls series, because every fight that I can remember, the boss was always damageable. But because they're so active and there's so many different skills, like I remember Jonathan was saying, like he was really excited for us to see a boss that they had in the video at the beginning when they were starting. And he was like, I think this is like the best boss we've ever done.
Right.
You know, but then he was so disappointed after it was shown, because how the boss rolled in that one session when they were doing the demo for us.
Yeah, we only saw
it didn't do like 4 of the skills that he was really excited to show everybody. But in every boss that we encountered, it seemed like the boss was always damageable, but because the boss was so active and smashed like a truck, you were only taking opportunities that were safe. And they were just so well done. So well done.
They were fun. The music for them was awesome. Like the experience of the boss fights was very, very fun. And it wasn't like you get to just see 2 of them in the act. Like they have 2 acts that were available for us to play. We did not finish even the first act. Like we were just having fun. We were just 2 buds gaming. So, but nobody, as far as I understand, when I was talking to the devs afterwards, nobody actually made it to the end of Act 2, which is crazy. But
6 hours. And we had people racing. There were people that were going for bragging rights.
Well, we had Noogie and Havoc beside us, and they were going hard. Like I have not seen 2 guys like so zoned
Right. Even after they finished recording all their content to their data sticks that they gave us, then they turned the game back on. Yeah. They just kept going again. They were desperate to get to the end. It was awesome.
Yeah. So the boss fights were, I thought it was one of the best parts. I loved the boss fights. I love the feeling of impact of what your character was doing to the bosses. Like, it was, I don't know why, I just have not felt that before in Path of Exile. And it just, I got a very different sense when it came to fighting bosses in PoE.
Yeah.
There were some things that were, visual clarity is definitely something that came up a lot, and they brought it up that it had been mentioned a lot. We definitely struggled with the visual clarity. It's it's kind of tough because we've never played co-op. We've played multiplayer, but when I play multiplayer with Tyler, we're both on our own screens. And so our character is always center stage. We're always in the middle of the screen. So maybe you can't see your character, but you always know where your character is, even if you can't see your character.
You know exactly where to look to find your character. You just got to try and find them in that small little section in the middle of your screen.
Right. In couch co-op, you have the whole screen, and your character could technically be anywhere in that screen. And so I can't even count the amount of times that we both thought we were the other person. I was quite often using roll just to try and find my character. So it sounds like they got quite a lot of feedback on that one. So I'm hoping that again, this is the first time that this type of couch co-op's ever been shown in this sort of way. So, there's quite a bit of feedback that I imagine they got that's very different than normal feedback, because typical feedback would be just single player game. But it was so much fun to play this. I don't know why it's different. This felt different than just playing with you when we play. Like I felt like, okay, we're together. Like, we're in this together, versus you just hopping into my instance and we're whatever doing our own thing. Yeah. I couldn't just zoom off without you. Like, we were in it.
But it was also really fun to do things that, I mean, I know this is a combination that you could currently do in the current game, but there was a time when you were playing the ranger and I was playing the monk. But as you level, and maybe I could talk about uncut gems in a sec, but I chose one of the sorcerer skills, and it was flame wall. I mean, it's still PoE for those that aren't up to date on how it's all going to work. Like, it's still PoE. Anybody can do it. But just like Path of Exile 1, only certain skills are available to certain classes at the very beginning. And so anyway, but I was able to choose one of the sorcerer skills, which is flame wall. And so I'm casting flame wall and then for Justin, and then he's using flame wall to shoot through people. But we know from all the other videos that there's a lot of synergy. And so it's a lot of fun to actually sit down and play. It's almost like the two characters become one build, and you're finding ways to work with each other. Right. Yeah. And because the gameplay, like the skills are slower and they're a lot more animated. Not all skills are slow. Like, you could still, like, we were watching some other people play and we're like, holy smokes, it looks like Path of Exile 1.
Where's that skill?
Right. Like, how'd we miss that? But it was a lot of fun because you can see, sure, we missed our characters. We couldn't see, and we talked about visual clarity, but that was that's something that they can easily fix for the sake of couch co-op. But because you can see so much more of what's happening, it was so much easier to be a tandem, as opposed to basically just two stat sticks that are running around until everything's dead. We really felt like we were impacting and doing the damage and surviving together. Yeah. And, in the couch co-op experience, like, Ty, come back, I'm fighting the enemies down here. And I'm like, I'm fighting the enemies up here. And I don't know, those little quarrels you have when you're doing co-op were a lot of fun.
It was fun, yeah.
One thing that did really disappoint me, and I'm not going to harp on it, but it was the thing that I was most curious about currently, and who knows, maybe they just haven't touched it yet and they have big plans for it, whatever it was, but there was a lot of loot on the ground. There was a lot of loot on the ground.
Skipping stuff.
Right. By the second area, like, we're talking the second area. Now, again, we're not, like, the areas are huge, right? But by the time we were level 6 and 7, we were skipping a lot of stuff on the ground. A lot.
Yeah, there's too many normal items. Like, it and you didn't always feel magic. Like you're getting. No, we picked up most magics, but it was mostly to sell them. Like, it wasn't. It wasn't to use them, but it was. There was a lot of loot.
That reminds me, though. There are now 2 ways to sell items because there's gold in the game. So you can sell an item in your inventory, and that will give you gold. And then remember, for
get more money, if
gold is how you, right. Yep. Just like in the current game, in a way, same mentality. And then gold is what the currency you use to buy from vendors, right?
And respect.
There was even a vendor that was kind of like, who's the
Gambler.
expedition gambler? Anyway, there was someone that was like, you would just buy a base type and you would hope that it would be like it would use a chance orb on it, right?
Most games.
So that
have
was
stuff
really
like
cool.
that, yeah.
And then so there's gold. So when you're selling an item, you hit one button to sell, and then it's done. Like there's no like I'm double checking this. You hit one button and it's done. Like there's no undo anything like that. And I really like
they're
that.
coming
Less
back
clicks,
with a
less
buyback.
clicks.
They're coming back with a buyback.
Oh, are they?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
That's
cool.
already been said because that was a problem.
Oh, was it? No.
Yeah.
I'm the other way. I'm like, yeah, too bad. You hit the button.
It was an accident though, and which is easy. If somebody accidentally hits it, that sucks to not be able to buy it back.
I guess. You sneeze, and I sneeze a lot. So there's the sell button, which gives you gold, but then there's the disenchant button.
Only from one NPC, but yes, which is pretty cool.
But the disenchant is what you, in a way, have currently with Path of Exile 1, where it'll give you transmutes or alterations or augments or whatever.
Tells you ahead of time, which is great.
Right. And that's neat because I was really excited to disenchant in this game because they're like transmutes and alterations. Like I can't remember what each one does in Path of Exile 2. I know the chaos orbs. I never saw an alter or an alch or a chaos, but
we saw orb of chance.
I'm reading these and I'm like, oh, is that the same wording? Is that different? Is it? And so it was a fun experience to go. Oh my goodness, they look so cool. Good. Anybody with tattoos out there of current currency, get ready for number 2 because it looks sick.
So good.
Yeah. So I was disappointed with loot. Something they can easily change in the future, but that was something that, of course, regular listeners know is my biggest thing, and it wasn't something that we were able to experience nicely there. But
my feeling towards it when Tyler and I talked about it was just that it still feels like you'll need a loot filter, which I feel like PoE is never going to get away from that. But I know Jonathan has really pushed the idea that they want to hopefully be able to function decently, at least with the default filter. And currently, there's just too much. There's too much normal stuff that was dropping.
Yeah. So the one thing about Path of Exile is that it's a free-to-play model. And the whole concept of a free-to-play model is you're putting your game out there for way more people to access, but the hope is that more people are going to stick with it, right? Mm-hmm. And Path of Exile 1 right now does just the whole game completely conflicts with the free-to-play model. It's a horrible experience for a new player. It explains absolutely nothing. You require so much third-party aspects, even just for the sake of the filter. Like it's just such a contrary final product for a free-to-play model. And regular listeners know my opinion on that and on loot and everything. Path of Exile 2 is so perfectly in tune with the free-to-play model. I am so excited for GGG. Even if loot ends up being the same, that still, I mean, to me, that's like the cornerstone of the game. You're playing an ARPG. That's the whole purpose that you play. But even if they end up having like a drop-down menu like Xbox currently has, and it includes never syncs filters of strictness, that's bare minimum in my opinion. But everything else that they've done is user first. Well, we had such a user first experience now. It is so exciting to be able to confidently say, I am going to be able to recommend this game to people going forward.
We had one of the questions when we were doing survey with Antoine in the middle of it, which was, accessibility wise, where do you think this stacks up compared to PoE 1? And we both just kind of like laughed emphatically. We're like, it's way better. Like anybody could come in right now and pick this controller up and start playing the game. It was very, very good at walking you through things. And even to the point, like we're going to talk about uncut gems. And
thank you. I'd forgotten about it every single time I brought it up.
I want to talk about them too. Uncut skill gems and uncut support gems. Even to that degree, like Tyler and we experienced the noob version because we didn't even realize there was an advanced version to experience the support uncut gems. So it was really good. Like when you got a support, it was very, very good at the way it suggested what you could do and how you could do it. I saw some people using it in single player, and it was even better in single player because you actually got like videos, examples of like the skills and the supports. And I was like, what the fuck? How? I never saw that. But that unfortunately is in the single player.
For any build of the week lovers, it's Eben's voice, apparently, that's doing the voiceovers for
I don't know how you would make that available in couch co-op, because I can't imagine two people looking at a skill.
Right. You've highlighted Earthquake and I've highlighted Flame Wall.
Skip.
Yeah, they had some default stuff in there when you would finish.
If you canceled out of the NPCs trying to talk to you, you just hear skip. And
somebody was there's a little audio file in there. It made us laugh every single time.
We laughed every time. But yeah, so let's talk about the uncut gems.
So for people that aren't completely caught up on every single PoE 2 video, gems no longer drop in Path of Exile 2. There's basically uncut gems. There's an uncut gem for active skills, and then there's a separate kind of uncut gem for support skills
and supports, because not active, like, because I think auras and stuff, right?
Good way to put it. Yeah, and so we haven't come across auras or anything like that yet. Meta gems, those aren't things that that GGG is currently, as far as I know. Anyway, this is our only playtest. Sorry, not only. I don't mean to sound like snobby. Like, we're very thankful to go, but we've been the one time, so I don't know what they've shown for the other playtests. But there were no meta gems or like anything like that for this playtest. But so there's the skill gem, what do you call them? Yeah, skill gems, and then the support gems. And they're uncut gems. Mm-hmm. And what you do is you click on an uncut gem, and then it provides you a list of availability. And
at tiers.
Right. So uncut gem tier 1 drops. Now, tier 1 is like base level. That's not right now with mods. This is going to be confusing for a little bit, because right now in PoE 1, T1 mod is the best mod. Well, in uncut gems, the first tier is like level 1 basic, kind of thing. And so let's say you're the, I don't know, let's say you're the sorcerer, right? You could use, like, they'll have like 2 or 3 spells that you could pick. And then as soon as you pick one, sure, you can see all the information you want on it, all the tags, how it works. If you're in single player on controller support, you get to see the video, which is pretty amazing. And then, it's okay. You go through the process, you select your gem, that uncut gem automatically turns into that gem. And then you equip it into whatever sockets that you have in the really cool new socket.
Which is all very easy to do on controller.
Right.
I just got to say.
Super easy.
And we're going to talk about controller in a minute, but I'm sorry.
And then it's not like you are getting a level 1 version of this gem. It's just there's certain gems available at an uncut gem level 1. Only certain skills are available uncut gem level 2, level 3. And so that's kind of like a way of saying,
because they're tier 1, tier 2, because you still do level the gem. You still do level the gem like normal, but yes, they are tier 1. Then you get better at tier 2. Then you get better at tier 3. And when I say better, I just mean cooler selections, more selections.
Yeah, it's like finally getting to Gravicious and getting all those cool level 28 gems. It's the same kind of process, but so that they're not overwhelming you with an insane amount of different gems available. Is now you get this one drop, and then you get to pick. But now I don't know
from any class.
Well, I don't know if it's any class that you've unlocked or if it's any class period, because it was the demo. So I don't know if things were previously unlocked for the profiles we're using. So whatever it was, but yeah, you could pick. So like there was a time that I was the monk, and I wasn't really interested in the monk skills. I liked the default skill that came with the quarterstaff, right? Because remember, there's no longer really implicits. You're just getting skills based on the type of base type that you're getting.
This on YouTube, you're seeing Tri play the monk, which is a very cool class if you have the high brain to play it, because it is very cool. But yes,
and so I enjoyed the default skill that it came with, but I didn't really like any of or it didn't interest me to play with the other skills. So I'm like, oh, you know what? Well, Justin's playing the ranger, so I tab over to the sorcerer and I make one of my uncut gems the flame wall. So I'm like, okay, now I'll cast flame wall, and Justin will do all the range stuff and catch everything on fire. And if anything gets through the wall, then I'll just go wham, 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 wham with my lightning or ice smashy thing, whatever it was. So, and so that was a lot of fun. And then you get really excited as you start progressing through and you get to different area levels, because the higher the area level, the higher the uncut gem that can drop. So an uncut gem level 1, tier 1 can only select tier 1 skills. But if I get an uncut gem level 4, I can unlock anything that's 4, 3, 2, or 1.
right? And so that was a lot of fun. And then support gems or supports work the exact same way. You get an uncut support that drops, and then you can select any support. Now, the really cool thing about this is that the game knows the menu. When you click on that, what it loads is actually the skills that you have. I don't know, I'll still call them active skills, I guess, but the active skills you have. So, I had that
socketed in.
That's
skills
right.
You have socketed.
So then you can tab through them, and it shows you only the relevant supports for that specific skill that you have. And so you're going through and you're like, oh, okay, I can unlock I can choose one of all of these for this skill. It's awesome. It doesn't show you ones you cannot use with that skill. You tab over to the next one, like Flame Wall, and it shows you a completely different list because it's a different kind of skill. And so it was really neat in that regards. And then the supports also are tiered in that regards as well. And so it's really neat. And then, of course, those, no matter what your selection is, then everything levels. We played Act 1. We didn't even finish Act 1. So I don't know if they're still going with the same caps. If you're doing character level 100 as a cap, if the gems character or the 20 gems or whatever max level is 20, we don't know any of that. But it was really cool to have everything level again. And the process was really cool. The information was neat. This gem display, when you're actually in that gem, it just, all the information is right there. It's a couple clicks away on controller, and it was really easy to know and make choices. Like, sure, you might have had a hard choice, like, oh shoot, do I want this one or this one? But you knew everything you needed to know, and it was right there. And the only difficult choice was making up your mind. It wasn't about any guessing.
And you didn't have to use it at the time. You could just let it chill in your inventory and wait till you wanted to decide later to do it. And what was crazy to me is just how many you got. At the time, I thought it was way too high. I remember talking to Octavian saying, like, did you guys ramp this up for the demo, or is this? And he said, no, this is currently the planned release. But when Tyler and I were talking about it later, that does kind of make sense, because right now, when you finish a few quests in Act 1, you can go to what's her name and just buy whatever available skills are there to you. So it did kind of make sense once we kind of thought of it that way, but it was,
I'd rather have too many than too little.
Sure.
And it lets you change your mind too. If you are scarce with skills, then you're just messing over the experience a little bit. Whereas then you're like, oh, I want to try it with this one, or I want to try it with that one. And it's nice to be able to swap it out.
Character or account bound either. So you could trade them with the person you were playing with, or you could throw them in your stash tab for another character later on. So it was,
you can even sell them for gold if you knew your choices you were making. You're just picking up
try and buy something.
But we had full inventories a lot.
Yes, we did. It was fun. I want to just talk about controller stuff, and then I think we're going to wrap it up relatively quick. We are going to have.
Don't forget your note.
Oh well, so I don't remember. Is there is that a thing in PoE 1 boulders? I don't think they're called boulders though. That you can click on and turn them over. I feel like they're stones.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're specifically called boulders.
I don't know. I saw boulder, and every time I saw it, it just made me laugh because I just thought of Donkey from Shrek. That is a nice boulder. So that was my only note that I added. I want to talk about controller. We may have to if you're watching this on YouTube, you may see the video loop. Tyler and I went way longer than I had originally thought we were going to go. So,
sorry.
Controller. We're going to talk even probably longer next week once we're allowed to talk about everything. But currently we're being careful. So controller, Trevor, I think he's done it for me. Like there are some parts that I did not like, but overall I loved every aspect of playing with the controller. They've completely fine tuned it. It seems with PoE 2 compared to PoE 1, but it feels like there's so much thought that has gone into how you play that game with controller. I just felt it was fun. Like, it really was enjoyable to play the game on controller. I was very, very surprised that I was going to be that comfortable and just, it sold me on it. I really liked it. And remapping everything. I mean, even to the point where
I can't believe we didn't talk about that. You got to give us a couple seconds on that,
man. It up, man. I tried to bring it up to you earlier. I tried to lead you into it, but you weren't taking it. But,
didn't catch on to your innuendos, man.
You can remap everything. So what does that mean, Ty?
Well, currently in Path of Exile 1 on controller support, there's certain static buttons and then there's certain customizable buttons. Flasks, D-pad, triggers, RBLB, I guess on PS, that's like R1 and R2 and that kind of stuff. those are all static buttons. You cannot change those, right? Your Flask, for example, are RB, LB, and then left, up, and right on the D-pad. And that's fine. The only modifiable options currently in Path of Exile 1 are your face buttons, right? So on Xbox, that's X, Y, B, and A, right? And then, you can hold trigger, left trigger, and then you get another 4, and then you let go and you hold right trigger, and then you get another 4. So there's a bunch. But also your pickup button is A. So you're never going to allocate a skill to A
or
on
X
the
on
Xbox controller. Right. But you're never going to do that because the game sometimes gets confused on if you're picking something up or if you want to cast a skill or you pick up something stupid instead of casting a skill in the middle of a fight, whatever it is. So people that play controller support on a regular basis never allocate any skills to A unless it's like, I don't know, one of those like dud skills or trigger skills that you can't actually activate, but you want to see when it activates kind of thing. In Path of Exile 2, every single thing that you can do with the controller can get mapped to every and any single button that exists.
Analogs are the only thing you can't. It's crazy. Like
you always have to move with the left analog, but other than that, like what you push down on like L3 and R3, no problem. Do you want pickup? Like, yeah.
Did you see L3 and R3? Those are the only two I didn't actually see. If you could map L3 and R3,
I thought you could. My notes could be wrong, but if you want pickup to be left trigger, no problem. Yeah. Right. But then it's not. They have all those face buttons and all those D-pads, every button is available. But then you can even map which to switch. I don't know, like in Path of Exile 1, you hold the left trigger or L2, and then it changes what the face buttons are. Well, you can change which button does like the whole skill swap thing for you, which isn't weapon swap, it's skill swap.
Yep.
And then you can completely reorganize not just which button it is that swaps your skills, but then all those buttons too. Like, what did they say? It was something like, was it
24?
That's
24 options, yeah.
But it's when Justin and I were playing, I did a lot of that different kind of modifying. Some of it because I'm already experienced with controller support, and there were just certain things. Like I automatically made my life flask LB or L1, and then I automatically made my mana flask RB or R1 instead of having them on the D-pad like
just because you're used to it too.
Right. But I got to choose that experience, and therefore, as a result, it's my fault. I can see that like a clunky experience is the user fault now.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
unless there's something screwy with gameplay or it's the skills designed poorly, a clunky experience is 100% on the user now, because you get to choose where everything and anything is based on how many, what skill you use often, which one you use infrequently, which ones you want to check on, all on the user now. And so it was awesome because on the PlayStation controller, I don't actually like Path of Exile. And that's not because I'm trying to be an Xbox snob, but if you want to use the D-pad on a PlayStation controller, the D-pad is above the left analog stick, which means my movement thumb, my left thumb, is what I have to use to hit that D-pad. And currently, the way we're playing it anyway, you're moving a lot. You're in danger all the time in Path of Exile 2. So for me to stop moving and then hit a specific direction on the D-pad, that's not very intuitive. But on an Xbox controller, the D-pad's below the movement stick, and I can easily use my very inactive right thumb to go over and hit. And I do that all the time currently with maps and all the other stuff that the D-pad's currently used for in Path of Exile 1. So I don't know. It's just really neat how if I was to play on a PlayStation controller, I could make all my D-pad stuff completely dud skills, right? Maybe like a meta gem that we haven't played with yet or something like that. You know what I mean? Like other things that I'm not going to be active with, but I choose that experience. And I just thought that was phenomenal, that like it blew my mind that you could even move the pickup button. Justin, that's hot.
Yeah, it was
a sexy spreadsheet, man.
We didn't realize you could move the pickup button until today on our flight home as we were reviewing footage. But I did remap a button by accident to the same X button as the pickup, and it was awful because I just kept using a skill while I was trying to pick stuff up. So the customization side of the controller is just, it's really, really cool. Like I don't know, it was a very fun experience for me to play on controller. So.
And some things, I guess, aren't going to be customizable, like what button, when you're in a menu system, right? And it's like, okay, well, I want to click on stun to bring up more info and then go through the, information process that the game now provides. That's probably going to be static buttons.
The same with
You're probably not going to be able to change that.
That was all the same. Yep.
But in terms of when you're in actual gameplay is when we noticed that the customizability was available to us.
Especially, I think the more you play it too, you'd become more aware of what you like. I actually like the smart, especially early on, the smart flask system for health. Early on you just have health and mana flasks. I was talking to Octavian about like how does the game decide which one it's using? So it does have a system of where it ranks your different ones based on how are they rolled, what's the quality of them, how much can they do, and so it uses a tiered system as it decides which one, basically from the top to the bottom. So it uses the best first. But one thing I didn't know, and this just could be because I didn't watch much PoE 2 content, but there are flasks now that their sole purpose is remove freeze and chill, remove poison. Like they're not modifiers anymore that will roll on life on flasks. They are the flask. That's the implicit. What it is. So then you're assigning that as one of your keys because that is now an active skill that you need to use in your buttons. So I thought it was cool.
Very cool. Very neat experience. And we'll talk about much more about, I know that there's people that are looking a lot more forward to the gameplay aspect of things.
Yeah, next week.
All the stuff that we're kind of skirting around right now that's done on Tuesday. This comes out. So today's Friday night for us. Again, as usual, our episode comes out in a day and a half for us. Sunday, is it Sunday midnight morning? Like how do you anyway?
It's technically Sunday morning.
2 days after this comes out, the embargo is lifted and you'll be able to chat and ask us anything you want. We'll of course be recording part 2 of our play test next week. But if you're curious about any of the background stuff, if you like background pictures, we have an LA channel, Los Angeles channel in our Discord. You join our Discord. Don't feel like you have to chat or be polite, or don't be a dick, but don't feel like you have to actually chat if you're antisocial. You're more than welcome to just join the Discord, check out the LA channel, and check out some of the pictures that were there.
We put a bunch of pictures up there.
Tons. Yeah. And then feel free to ask us whatever you like too, as long as we're allowed to talk about it. I'm sure there's questions you have that we know the answer to, that maybe that we experienced, but for some reason we didn't write it down. So feel free to ask, especially after Tuesday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we can answer it, we will. Otherwise, Tuesday morning, we can start answering whatever. But next week is going to be much more into our actual gameplay, which is going to be a lot of fun. So, thank you again to Talkative Tri for providing us the footage that's hopefully playing in the background in YouTube right now, if I got it all working. Otherwise, thank you for giving me the footage. We just couldn't use it. And then a huge shout out to Path of Exile for just letting us come. We had a great time and, very kind, like all the stuff that they did for us. So it was very awesome. We had a great time. Great experience.
Even that swag bag.
Yeah, an Xbox controller. Now I just need PoE 2. What the heck?
Not just an Xbox controller, Justin.
It says Path of Exile 2 on it.
Elite Series 2.
I let my son open it up. When I got home, my kids were all, excited for about 30 seconds to see me. And then
it's a good 30 seconds though.
It is a good 30 seconds, yeah. And then I let Logan open up the controller and he's like, "Oh, Dad, this stuff." And I'm like, you're not getting it. He's like, "Well, but do you really?" He totally thought that he was getting it. I was like, "No, dude, it's going to sit in the box until I want to start playing." You're not getting it
Summer 2025. It's going to get its use. Summer 2025. It's going to
sit there in pristine condition until then. Anyway.
So if you all need a summary of this episode, you can forget everything and just know that there's a possibility that Justin for Path of Exile 2 is a controller convert.
There's a very good chance. Yeah.
Trevor,
I was really enjoying it.
You've converted, my friend.
Yeah, you did a good job. It was so fun. We had such a good time and we can't wait to talk about it more next week in 245. But for now, let's wrap this up. Forever Exiled 244. I'm Justin AK Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Patrons, we will catch you in After Dark. Everybody else, we'll see a very fun part 2 next week in 245. If you're looking for more information, you find it down below. We got a website, foreverexiled.com. We're on Twitter, foreverexiled82. We have a very fun Discord. Pop in there, say hi, check out the Los Angeles channel. And Patrons, other ways to support the podcast, are down below and on the website. Hopefully I can talk normally next week. Bye.
You sounded sexy tonight.
I got it,
man.